Hi there, my name is Key, and welcome to my attempt at a RuneScape series. I've always wanted to do one of these fun challenges on RuneScape, but was never sure what to do. I'm not a particularly skilled or knowledgeable player, and I tend to be more on the casual side if I'm honest. So when I have played, I always play back how you would in 2007, lots of the kind of AFK things where you're playing other things or watching stuff in the background. So I've never really done any of the newer or the higher end content really, and I'm certainly not familiar with bossing or anything like that. This is something I'd like to fix and challenge myself to learn more about the game in a way I think will be fun. So with that in mind, we have the idea of a drop rate locked account. So with the intro out of the way, I think we should get into the rules so we can kind of set out how the account's going to go. So my account will be killing any and all NPCs in the game with the intent to collect things within their drop rate or not at all. To make it simple, say I'm killing an Abyssal Demon and I'm looking for a whip. The drop is 1 in 512 according to the wiki, so this means if the whip drops within the first 512 kills, I can keep it and any subsequent whip drops after that. If the whip does not drop within those first 512 kills, I can never receive the item for the creature. For items that are not unique to a single NPC, such as mind runes, I only have to be within the drop rate of that specific NPC. For instance, the wiki has farmers dropping mind runes at a rate of 1 in 64. If I don't get the mind runes within 64 kills, I cannot receive the item from this NPC. However, Brutus has a 1 in 10 drop rate for mind runes, so if I get them within the first 10 kills, I can continue to receive mind rune drops from Brutus, as that's the NPC that dropped them. So if that, it doesn't mean I'm not allowed to get mind runes at all, it just means I have to get them off creatures that they dropped within the rate of on their table. This applies to all droppable items by any NPC within the game. A couple of things that I did consider is NPCs that drop different quantities of the same item and both noted and unnoted forms. For instance, chickens, they've got a 1 in 2 chance of dropping 5 feathers and a 1 in 4 chance of dropping 15 feathers. The way I'm going to look at it, my logic here is a feather is a feather. Additionally, with the noted versus unnoted drops, we're going to use Brutus as an example again. So he always drops a T-bone steak unnoted, but he also drops a noted version that has a 1 in 8 chance. My logic here, they're the same item again, so it seems a bit excessive to restrict it, but depending on how the account works, it's clearly a bit of a grey area for that one, so I'm happy to review it down the line, but for now, we can keep those when they're dropped like that, just for the consistency. So the aim of that is to keep it so the account can progress and not lock myself out of certain supplies just for the sake of it. I have other restrictions that are going to be applied, so adding further grinds seems against the spirit of what I'm trying to do, because the end goal, while they are there, I do want to make it sustainable and fun. Speaking of other goals, I'm not allowed to use armor, weapon, rune, herblore, and food shops to acquire gear or supplies. This feels like it could give the account a bit of an easier early game, and that's not what I'm aiming for. Range supplies, they're included on this list, so I'm not allowed to go to the fletching shop and kind of buy the arrow tips and go from there. General stores, they are allowed, just because they contain so many necessary items for the game, and they've got quest items in there as well. So I think, is it the Karamja shop, for example, that sells the charcoal, and that's definitely used in some quests. Skilling, that is allowed, surprisingly. I am going to impose somewhat of a limit though, so for mining and smithing, this can mostly be done as normal. However, I'm not allowed to make armour and weapons for myself beyond bronze, unless it happens to be ranged ammo. I can make nails, crafting supplies, things like that, but I can't make, say, a full set of steel armour. I have to wait for it from a drop, but I am okay to make steel arrow tips, steel knives, things like that. So fishing and cooking, they'll be allowed as normal. I need something to AFK while I'll be working on the videos. Keeps me in a good supply of food as well, and that way I can continue the slaughter. We've got crafting, rune crafting, fletching, hunter, woodcutting, fire making and farming. They're all just going to work as normal because they're not exactly any different within this challenge. Crafting's obviously just going to be fueled from drops, same with rune crafting. Thieving. Now this is a slightly different one, because these do have drop tables on them as well. So this is going to be operating under the same rule set. I don't really intend on doing any early game thieving, so I'm not going to put myself in a position where I would need to work out the drop tables instantly, because I do kind of want to learn how thieving works better, because obviously there's the chests that you can get, and as you get higher level NPCs have got some kind of wild drop tables, and I think they have clues and stuff, so I don't just want to go in there and kind of steamroll that and not have done the proper research. I will be pickpocketing men a couple of times in Lumbridge, but that's not going to break the bank or anything like that. It's just a couple times to get some coins for like a hammer and spade. Slayer, finally, this is going to work as normal, because that's how we're going to get all the drops on the account as time goes on. It's one of the best ways to level your combat, and it's going to bring me into things like bossing and then later game raids, whilst giving me a chance to set up with some decent gear. All the drop rate information that will be used, it's going to be coming from the wiki. This keeps it simple, consistent, and easy to track for me. I'll also be using the Runelight tracker to keep track of items that have dropped and then the number of kills that have also been had. I'll obviously periodically check that with the collection log just to make sure that the correct number of NPCs have been killed. I'll be using the NPC plugin lookup just to make sure that the drop rates are correct and I am kind of where I need to be. I've also created a little bit of a Google Doc. This has got all the information on that I need and the items that I'm looking for. It's not got every item on there, but it does contain what I need and within their drop rates. So say on the sour hog table, they do drop cabbages. Do I want a cabbage? Absolutely not. Will that be going on the drop rate table? Also, absolutely not. So it's one of them. Questing, that will be allowed on the account. However, I will be banning certain quests early on, just to stop me from leapfrogging it. So there's things like Waterfall, Fight Arena, is it Tree Gnome Stronghold? They give you a lot of combat XP if I remember. I feel that is not the best idea, because like I'd rather just kind of get in that habit early on of tracking the drop tables and just killing everything for the love of the game, really. We also have that mini games will be allowed. They're going to be subject to the same rules as all the other drops in the game. I just need to work on the tables and how they operate as well. I'm not really familiar with any of the mini games, I don't think, other than Temperos. That game is super fun. I've always kind of weirdly enjoyed fishing on this, whether it be the AFK or the interactive stuff. So that will definitely be the place that I go first in terms of mini games. With things like Wintertop being last, because when I have tried that like years ago on an Iron Man, that was pretty bloody boring if I'm honest with you. So that's a hard no for now. But Temperos will definitely be early on. To believe that's a good source of food, and there's some kind of other items I can maybe get in there as well. I've also decided to start the account as a hardcore Iron Man, because why not? I think the added pressure of not dying will help me focus, as it's not something I've ever done before. If I do die, I'm not going to be starting again. This is the kind of series where I'm going to be dying a lot. I don't know how a lot of mechanics of monsters work, so I'm just going to die like it's a day job, most likely. I'm not going to play crazy safe, but I am going to kind of try and keep that status for as long as I can, because it is something I would like to see if we can kind of push it, maybe get to some okay levels before we die. But again, it's not a life or death situation. Other than that, the only thing I'd like to say is this is something I've never really done before. I've never created any series. I'm not a particularly dab-handed video editor. I kind of chop a little things in my spare time with some hobbies, but other than that, it really is a first time for me. I've still not got 100% grips on the audio settings with the microphone, so sometimes that does come a bit choppy. It's not the ideal setup. It's not crazy high end, but it does get the job done. As the series continues, and if it's something that I'm keeping up, I would definitely like to look at investing in better equipment and improve all of that, because it will just make everything better, really. Other than that, with some of the early stuff, while I was figuring out the audio, there is not a lot of audio for the clips because it just didn't work. So I'm going to have to revoice over some, which is a shame because my attempts at some of these early quests have been fantastically stupid. It's a shame we can't use the original audio from that, but we'll try and give it a brief overview. Other than that, thank you for taking the time to listen, and let's get this endless slaughter and learning journey started. So, this is where the account's up to now. We're not going to show everything, we're just going to quickly explain a thing or two. So, at the start of the game, you just saw me messing around, just doing some basic early stuff. What I wanted to do to get myself to grips with how I was going to do the loot tables for my tracking, I obviously started killing things within this. Did some clue scrolls, did a lot of goblins, killed a lot of chickens, killed a highwayman because I mean look at the K. G. Got the giant rat and a cow because I did want the meats for the herblore quest. And again, just to build a table, so the goblins was a good chance to build a table. Some stuff I obviously didn't get on there, like I have locked myself out of earth rooms. Did manage to get the clues though. So as we go a little bit further up, you can see in the clips I was killing farmers. Thought they'd be a good early game drop for seeds. Spoiler alert, terrible. Killed black bear as it was part of my slayer task as the first one. And then I fancied myself a chance to kill some imps. Now, something that is a bit interesting, I don't know how to do the imp quest because their drop is a normal drop for the beads, but then it is also a quest specific item, and to my knowledge it doesn't serve any other purpose. Not really sure how to go about that one. It's not the end of the world if I don't have an amulet of accuracy, and I don't really care about the quest kit, but again, another one to see if I could get that. Obviously did not get the black and white beads in the drop rate, so I kind of just jibbed that off as well. And yeah, that kind of covers it. So the audio that's going to come up next is me kind of recapping where I got with some quests, because I did a couple of them. Okay, so this is when I started the Ides of Milk quest. I went into Brutus thinking, oh yeah, I can just walk up and kill this guy. Spoiler alert, you absolutely can't. So we go on a journey to find a man called Cassius, who is trying to take over the strangle that the current lot have on the milk market in Lumbridge, and apparently the wider RuneScape. I took a lot of weird turns mentally with this quest. Like, there was a point where I thought they was just serving bulls milk. I'm like, but bulls can't make milk. Am I just, yeah, not the smartest take from me. Maybe it could have been, and I guess that's a joke. But I was not. I was coming up with some right conspiracy theories for this one. So I did have a lot of fun. It was fairly easy to do, fairly straightforward. There wasn't anything that kind of catches you off, I don't think. And we're at the point where we're fighting Big Bad Brutus now. This was quite funny again. I was just watching the Limpwork recent YouTube video, and he was just pure farming him. So I kind of went in optimistic and assumed some of the mechanics from watching him, but kind of guessed the others, as you'll see in a sec. It's fairly straightforward, so I was just, yeah, taking damage immediately. We completed the quest, and then we went on a little side quest. I ended up doing a clue scroll, and then I ended up on a journey for a spade. It was absolutely stupid where I ended up going for it. I didn't realise you can just get them in the general store. So that was its own adventure. And then we did some quests. So we tried to do Sheep Shearer, Rune Mysteries, X Marks the Sport, Vampire Slayer, and Ernest the Chicken, because they're all kind of in the same area-ish, in that kind of little trifecta, aren't they? So worked on them. Not the best juggler of these things, apparently. Did make some errors, which was quite funny. I'm not going to try and be clever ever again after this, because doing that like that already really, really did make a hash of it. Not in a rush to repeat those mistakes. You'll see as we get to them, I'm a bit sad. Not sad because it's quite funny, but I'm certainly have a feeling when I'm looking at this, editing it now, and I have to see it God knows how many times while editing it, just to make sure everything's kind of as good as I can do it for the first one. So yeah, we're just quickly checking in with Dr. Harlow's, speeding through Sheep Shearer, did bang out some more agility, and then here we are, we get to Camp Brainer. Now, for the eagle-eyed observers, you're probably seeing something that isn't right in my inventory, but to forget your hammer on a quest where quest helper is literally telling me that I need a hammer and I don't take said hammer, and yeah. So at that point, what I do is I just kind of go off in a little state of embarrassment and I go and complete a clue scroll. Um, and then just go back to Brutus for a little bit because where else do you spend your time this early on when you've unlocked a boss that's actually quite fun to do? So I did kind of persevere with quite a few more Brutus kills at this point. 'Cause, guys, it's just a fun thing to kill, so yeah, just anything to distract me from the shame of Count Drainer and when I have to return. Quite early on, we actually get a Muleta, which I loved because I just think defenders are cool, and now we've got a low-level defender, so I can have one in my hand forever and ever and ever. Straight after that, we get our bottomless milk bucket, which don't really know what it's for. I'm guessing storing a lot of milk. And then we just get on some clue scrolls, get some nice items that are actually upgrades for us. What we're trying to do early on is get in the habit of when we get clue scrolls, just do them. Because they have incredible items for us. They give us runes, they give us best in slot gear in terms of like black stuff is probably going to be the best for me now. So yeah, we'll go through that a bit later. Get a genie lamp, which forces me to do druidic ritual, and then we revisit the big bad Count Driller. This time we remember our hammer. Didn't need quest helper to tell me that this time, did I? Because I forgot it the first time. Yeah, we get him out of the way, and then we kind of go from there. Yeah, just get to just pretend that this was definitely the first time I came, and it's not me making an absolute hash of it. Jump on to another Slayer task, did a little bit of fishing and cooking, and we got to Ice Fiends, who absolutely battered me. Thank God there was not many of them in the task, because I think that would have took a lot longer than expected. Yeah. Low level Slayer is embarrassing, but it's kind of funny at the same time because I think you don't realize how much and how fast accounts progress in the modern game. Like even on an Iron Man, like the second you get like a certain drop, you just kind of start to steamroll through stuff. And it's obviously going to take forever with this account, but just it was quite the slaughter on me doing the Ice Fiends, but we did manage to tick that one off in the end. Yeah, we finished the Ice Fiends, and then we go and get another task. It's monkeys, we quickly bang that out, we get a book of knowledge on the way. Obviously that's going to Herblore, that's going to be the best way for us to train it for quite some time. With that, our catch-up has been completed. So going forward, like I said, the audio issues should be okay now. We shouldn't really be having any difficulties with the footage. This is the best as we're going to get it for now with the settings. I'm absolutely happy with that, I think. The video is where we want it to be. The setup's not crazy high-end, but it's enough. It's a learning journey for all aspects, so I'm going to get better as a player, but I'm going to get better with video editing and everything like that. Going forward, in the next one, we will basically be focusing on Slayer. There's a little bit of a spoiler in what I'm wearing right now as to where we go with it. But yeah, other than that, thank you for taking the time to watch, and I will catch you in the next one.